I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 158. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Monday, July 22nd. And congratulations to the Texas State Bobcats for winning the 2024 National Championship in EA Sports College Football 25. That's right. The big video game drop this week. It's a video game for some of you who don't know. Most of you know, most of you have it. And I'm very jealous. I'm living vicariously through all of you playing it. I haven't gotten to play one play, but my timeline is flooded with the Bobcats winning the national championship on EA Sports College Football 25. I don't know how you have the time. I'm very envious. I wish I had the time to get in there. I'll catch up. I'll catch up soon enough. I haven't seen a natty pick from the Wizard, our great producer, Zachary Webb. I know he has the game. He got in there on the early release. Where's the natty, Webb? Where's it at? You got to take the Bobcats to glory. I know that guy's been working hard, so it's been hard for him to get some time, I'm sure. Take the Bobcats all the way to a championship. I'm impressed with a lot of you that already have. It's great to see that the Texas State's one of the hottest teams to play with in that game. It's great. I mean, what a difference a year makes. That's for sure. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We'll talk about Sunbelt Media Days. We'll talk about some new commits for the Bobcats. Lots of stuff to go over. Sunbelt Media Days, we will be there this season once again, just like we were last season. We got there last season and this one, thanks to TGC LLC, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. If you own property or a business and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms at TGC_LLC on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and on Instagram and Facebook, the Galindo Collective on those two platforms. I got to start memorizing this ad read because they've been with us since before last season. As I was saying earlier, they got us to Sunbelt Media Day 2023. They're getting us to New Orleans once again, Sunbelt 2024 for this week. Can't thank Rick Galindo enough. Rick Galindo, a true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad himself. The Galindo Collective they've done a lot for us. They helped us get to the bowl game last year. They have been a really awesome partner for this podcast. And I am very excited to go down there and represent a lot of them and get to talk to GJ Kinney, Ishmael Mahdi, Jordan McLeod, get to talk to these Bobcats, all thanks to TGC LLC. So go check them out, the GalindoCollective.com. That's GALINDO, GalindoCollective.com. We are also brought to you by Chillzy.com, CHILLZEY.com. You can get custom tumblers, custom koozies. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe if you check it out. You can see me holding this custom tumbler right here with the Win Now or Get Bent logo on it. If you order 6 or more of these tumblers and you punch in Bobcats at your checkout, they're $15 a piece. And that's a great deal because this will keep your drink cold, even if you're out at the Corpus Christi beach all day like I was. Definitely use both of these. Use these koozies as well. Some of you remember we handed out these koozies last season. We're going to do something again this season thanks to Chillzy, Chillzy.com, CHILLZEY.com. Thanks to Dennis Redding, true Texas State sicko, a Texas State grad. Check him out. That's Chillzy.com. All right, let's get to these Bobcats. And the first Bobcat we're going to get to is a baby Bobcat, GJ Kinney. He announced a baby girl. His baby girl was born this week. Swayze Kinney. Love that name. SWAYZE. Swayze Kinney. I like that one a lot. But right before the season, right before what we all feel is going to be a pretty terrific season for Texas State football. So Swayze got here just in time. Congrats to GJ Kinney and his family. What a great moment. He was just at the Texas High School Coaches Association. They had a media event, and he was saying that he had his daughter induced so that he could make that event. Which is pretty good. I appreciate that dedication. Shout out to him and his wife. His whole family posted a great video of his son. I think it was Lincoln. I think Lincoln's the older one, holding the baby girl. And he kept saying, he's like, I don't know what it is, but every time I hold this baby, just something gets in my eye. I don't know what that is. It's just funny to watch a little 4 or 5 year old go through those emotions, deal with those emotions. Like, yeah, you love your little sister right away. But that's great stuff. Great to see that for the Kinneys. Can't wait to ask about that at media days. Um, Before we get, I'll talk a little bit about media days. Before I do that, I want to talk about 2025 commits. I put media days on my prep first, but we'll talk about these commits and then we'll go to media days because we'll go through the commits pretty quick. There's a few more since the last pod. I think there was 5 the last pod. Now there's 9. 9 commits for 2025 for Texas State football, high school commits. They were on this trend of all of them being from the state of Texas. 8 of the 9 are from Texas now. The one who isn't from Texas is pretty good. Jamarian Ficklin, QB from Muskogee, Oklahoma is where he's from. Now, if you remember, GJ Kinney went to Tulsa. He started out at Texas, transferred to Tulsa. That's where he had the bulk of his career, bulk of his success. So he has some ties to the state of Oklahoma. But he found a quarterback, Jamarian Ficklin. We know GJ Kinney's got a good eye for quarterbacks too. And just like the other commits that they had before, lot of offers from teams that I'd consider peers for Texas State, like UTSA, UNT, Tulsa, UNLV. There's even a Sam Houston State offer for him, Army offer. So this is a coveted player. You like to see that. You like to see that other teams are trying to bring him in, and he chose Texas State. The recruiting is strong there. And I'll go over the other ones too, but these are the ones that have committed since our last episode. We also have Amir Ross. He's an offensive lineman from Duncanville. I didn't put his size here, but I remember he's a pretty big guy. He has offers from UTSA, UTEP, Arkansas State, Memphis, Tulsa, and Nevada. Pretty good list for him. Always like to see UTSA on there. You'll notice UTSA is a trend on a lot of these guys. Another offensive lineman committed, Sean Terrell from Clean Oak. He's got UNT offer, Sam Houston State, Prairie View A&M, and UTEP. They got a wide receiver, Julius Spencer from Lakeview Sentinel. He has a Tulsa offer, Prairie View A&M, Austin Peay. And then Arvis Battle Jr., tight end from Red Oak, another tight end. They've got a lot of tight ends loading up. Obviously, this 2025 kid, so some of the tight ends that are on roster now won't be by the time he gets there. But they're just they're collecting a lot of tight ends, just something I've been noticing. But Arvis Battle, he has offers from UTSA, UNT, Sam Houston State, Tulsa, Arkansas State, Louisiana Tech, Lamar, and Bowling Green. And if you notice that trend, a lot of UTSA, UNT, Tulsa, Sam Houston State, you can kind of see who they're competing with for some of these commits. I mean, there was another one, Dimerson. Chris Dimerson was he's a quarterback. He's considered an athlete. He's a quarterback, wide receiver player. He had Texas State on his radar. I think he had him in the top 4. He ended up choosing UNT. So there's a pretty big battle going around for those teams. But the commits, besides those last 4 I just named, Cordarian Powell, cornerback from Royce City, Kevon Carter, linebacker from Wagner, Nick Fisher, edge from Cy Ranch, Skylar Lewis, wide receiver from Sulphur Springs. And all of them as well, UTSA, UNT, Sam Houston State, a lot of those same offers, Tulsa. So it's interesting to see that. In Texas State, they're doing really well. And I have a nice rat poison segment at the end of this episode. Talk a little bit about how others are viewing the Bobcats off season. Some nice remarks from others that are around, because it's coming from me. I'll admit I'm a little biased, everybody. Okay, I mean, look, right over here, if you're watching our YouTube, Win Now or Get Pinned on YouTube, like and subscribe. Yeah, I've got the Texas State, the foam hand, the left hand. Left hand. Left hand is very important. I did see some Tech State social media stuff go out where I won't name names, but there's a coach and some players that may have used the right hand, and we'll let it slide. But if you're hearing this and you think that might be you, just left hand. It's the left hand. Left hand for the state of Texas. That way it's in the right shape. When everyone's looking at it, you do the right hand, you get the claw right there. There you go. There you go. Check out on YouTube so you can see hand signs. It's the whole reason. Webb will love it. Subscribe. Subscribe on the YouTube. We need those subscribers, everybody. Let's talk about Sunbelt Media Days coming up this week. I like how we have to say media days, plural, for all of them now, because all of them are multiple days. The SEC did theirs last week. It was 4 days. All of them are multiple days. The Sun Belt's only 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday this week. In New Orleans, once again, I personally feel the best location for any of these media days is the Sun Belt in New Orleans. Now, I saw what was it, Big 12? They went to Las Vegas, just trying to, reassert themselves, I guess, and do something a little more interesting. But the SEC was in Dallas, so maybe that's why I think the Big 12 has done it in Frisco, in at times prior. But yeah, I love that it's in New Orleans. It's fantastic. It's a great city, great place to visit. Can't wait to eat a lot of great food and get a lot of quotes. Those are my goals this week. Eat food, get quotes, and catch up on sleep. As a lot of you know, I have two kids under 2 in my household. Sleep is coming at a premium these days, so I am going to catch up on that. You won't find me on Bourbon Street. But yeah, Sunbelt Media Days. Yeah, 10:30 a.m. on Wednesdays when Tech State's going to be talking. So that's the second day of Media Days, which is interesting because whenever they split it up like this, a lot of times Tech State's on the first day, and a lot of times they're not at the high volume time where people are going to be watching and really paying attention. And the fact that they have them on the second day as the very first team, that just tells me that they're moving up in the world, especially in other people's eyes, perspective of everything. I mean, it's crazy what one winning season does, 8-5 season. How this off season has been so many. That's why I do been doing the rat poison segment at the end of these, just to talk about all the good things that people are finally saying about Texas State. It's really quick to change the perspective around this program. I know a lot of you know that. But yeah, so Ish, Madi, Jordan McLeod, they'll be there. GJ Kinney as well. Really excited to talk about those guys. This is from the Texas State website, txst.com, on their little media day segment. They had a nice little write up for Madi and McLeod. And I might as well just read it straight from there. I thought so. Here you go. txst.com. Go check them out. I'm sure all of you do. Check out rosters, have all that fun stuff. But Ish Madi, a junior from Murphy, Texas. Madi returns to the Bobcats after a standout sophomore season in 2023. He was named first team All-American by CBS 247 Sports, second team All-American by the Football Writers Association, The Athletic, ESPN, and Phil Steele. And he was a third team selection by Athlon Sports. He was also an All Sunbelt first team selection for all-purpose player and a second team as a return specialist. He was named Dave Campbell's Texas Football All-Texas second team. Madi's received 2024 preseason all-conference honors from Athlon Sports and Phil Steele. And he's a first-team running back, third-team kick returner on those last 2. Jordan McLeod. McLeod is the reigning Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, committed to Texas State in February 2024 after an 11-2 season as a starting quarterback for James Madison. The dual threat quarterback has made 31 starts in 36 career games from 2019 to 2023, and in that time has thrown for nearly 7,000 yards. That one kind of blew my mind. On 573 of 903 passing in his career. McLeod has 58 touchdowns and 25 interceptions. He also has 708 career rushing yards on 281 carries with 13 touchdowns. McLeod has earned preseason All-American second team special teams and preseason All Sun Belt honors from Phil Steele and Athlon Sports entering the 2024 campaign. So there you go. 2 heavy hitters coming. That's why I wanted to read all of that to you. I mean, I can sit here and tell you, oh, that guy, he's so good. I saw him. But when you read all of that, it puts it in perspective. These are two terrific players that are there for the Bobcats, two decorated players, two players that for one of the first times in media day, I might have to wait when I'm trying to talk to these Bobcat players. I may have to like elbow some other media out of the way. Like, hold on, let me talk to these guys because people are going to want to talk to them. I mean, you've got an All-American and you've got a guy in Jordan McLeod who's a terrific quarterback. We'll get some more about him and Rat Poison. I'm trying not to step on a lot of the Rat. I have a lot in Rat Poison. July has been the off-season optimism for the Bobcats is hitting, and it's not coming from Bobcats. Of course, it's coming from Bobcats. It's not coming solely from Bobcats. It's coming from all over, which is interesting. Except UTSA, they're mad, huh? They don't like it. They have their arms crossed. I see them huffing and puffing on Twitter about people talking about the Bobcats. Not a rivalry though. Don't forget they made shirts. Not a rivalry. Oh, I can't wait for this season on that. But some about media days. I'm excited about that. I'm even going. I thought about doing it for before, but I'm going to go ahead and call for it after. We're going to do a mailbag. It's been a while since we've done a mailbag, so let's get a media days mailbag going. When I put this episode out, I'll call for it on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, and you're watching on YouTube, throw it in the YouTube comments. You got a question on there? I'll make sure to start pulling questions from the YouTube comments as well for the mailbag. But yeah, we'll do one of those. So think of some good stuff for Media Day. Hopefully you tune in 10:30 on Wednesday. You can check it out, ESPN Plus. A lot of you have ESPN Plus because that's how you watch games. Watch the Texas State games. It's where you can catch all Texas State sports. But you can also watch Media Days on there. So you can even scout the competition if you want to watch all day Tuesday and Wednesday, because I'll be there Tuesday. Probably won't get in the way of other media people trying to get their questions in and stuff on some other coaches, but if it's a slow time, maybe I'll get in there too. Uh, yeah, let's do a quick realignment talk before Rat Poison, just because I know I talked about realignment on the last episode, and there's already been a little bit of an update, not really anything official, but it really has in terms to do with FSU and Clemson. I feel like it adds an extra little caveat to what we were discussing on the last one, where Florida State and Clemson, they're in the ACC, and they are seemingly exploring options to get out of that conference and to move on. The SEC has said they don't really want them because they see that FSU is a disruptive partner, is what they called them, mainly because they're trying to sue the ACC for not making the college football playoff. So they see them if they bring them in, are you going to be a problem child in this conference? So it doesn't seem like they want FSU. They're not going to do that. But as we've seen, it could go Big 10, could go Big 12. But that would be interesting because if that were to happen, it could create the same ripple effect that happened to the Pac-12. It started at the top, teams started leaving, and all of a sudden whittled down to two teams, Oregon State, Washington State. So that's something to keep an eye on. It's obviously it hadn't happened. It's nothing official, but we've seen these things move quickly. So I'm sure either during the season, maybe at least by the end of the season, we'll get some clarity on what they're trying to do. But that would be interesting if the ACC does kind of fall to the wayside, especially in terms of a school like SMU, who just moved to the ACC. They were in the American Conference last season. Now they're in the ACC. They gave up a lot to join the ACC too. They gave up 10 years of TV deals. So they moved to the ACC along with Cal and Stanford, and all three of those teams agreed to do that. They're not going to take any of the TV money from being in that conference until 2033, which is about $40 million a year. Now, granted, all three of those schools are pretty well off. Stanford is, I don't know, is Stanford an Ivy League? I in my mind, I consider it one. I don't know if it's officially an Ivy League. It feels like it's at least really, really high end university. Um, and we all know SMU has money, Pony Excess from the 80s, all that good stuff. I was just reading about that, the death penalty and everything, just going back and working on some stuff, and I came across the death penalty. And that's just, it's crazy to think not having a season. They didn't play a game all 87 or 88. Just no, and it really just the ramifications after that. They had like one winning season all through the 90s. It had a long-term effect on their program. And then you look at the NIL era, it's kind of rectified what they did. Obviously it was against the rules when they did it, but now in today's game, what they did wouldn't have been illegal. That is kind of interesting, but they've crawled all the way back. It's a testament to people supporting a program for SMU to go all the way. They had the death penalty. 30 years later, they crawled themselves back into one of the premier conferences in football. Granted, like I said, they had to give up a lot. The TV rights deal is not to mention they also had to pay the American like a big fat deal. I think it was 8 figures, 10 million around there. They had to pay them to leave. But they've also drummed up a lot of support, like $100 million in donations. SMU's they're on another level with the money. I thought their stadium would be nicer. The Bobcats played there in the bowl game, December 26th. Shout out to my guy Robert. I said December 27th on one episode, but it's December 26th. The Bobcats were there and it, ran out of beer. They don't have enough money to stock the fridge, but no, but that'll be interesting just to watch because we've already switched our lingo from P5, a Power Five team, Power Five conference, to P4, and now is it going to be P3? Who knows? Maybe I'm being Chicken Little here, looking at that, thinking another conference could implode. But it's just interesting. Interesting keeping an eye on football, the ever-changing landscape of football. It's changing. It's all it's a very fluid situation. And then I look at Texas State, and uh, I'm proud that they figured it out before it gets way. It's already crazy, but before it gets way out of hand, they at least have steadied the ship a little bit, somewhat, because it's going to be some bumpy waters, and we need a steady hand on that ship. All right, let's get to some rat poison. Try not to make these episodes as long. We'll try and keep them at like a half hour. We're going to do some format changes too. Webb and I have been brainstorming. We haven't put down a ton of content. We've been brainstorming in the background. We're talking about breaking them up into a little more digestible segments on YouTube and everything. So it's not some big long video or big long audio file. It's more easier to take in. And this way, if we do this, we can put out more content instead of one big one, So hang in there with that. But let's get to some rat poison. This is my favorite part. That's why I saved it for the end. It's like dessert, You just you gotta savor it. This is rat poison. Now I feel like I always have to explain the rat poison thing, but rat poison, it goes back to the Nick Saban talking about when you're reading your good news or you're hearing good news about yourself in the media, it can be like rat poison for a program where it's going to slowly kill you. Does rat poison slowly kill you? I don't know. I just kind of inferred that, but it's going to get you. It's what he's talking about. If you read too much into it, you start to feel good about yourself, rest on your laurels. So, GJ Kinney has said he has been avoiding the rat poison often. So don't listen, GJ. I'm sure you're too busy. You're probably not listening to this podcast, but go ahead and turn it off at this point. You don't want to hear all these good things everybody's saying. We do. We want to talk about it. So we're gonna do it. So I got a few, and I try to go. I try to go a little outside the box. Like I was saying, I want it to be from not even out of this beat, but even almost out of state a little bit with some of these where you look around at what people are saying about the Bobcats from a real outside view perspective. So, but here we go. This one is from College Football Daily on Twitter at CF All Daily, CF Ball Daily. I think it's CFB All Daily, but it could also be CF Ball Daily. There you go. You confused? I am. But this is their 2024 college football environments. They had a nice long list. I know I have the actual graphic because a lot of these I got from graphics. We'll see. Webb, you can cut this part out, but it'd be nice if we have a picture of the graphic here. I'll make sure to get you those pictures. The wizard, he works magic, man. He can do it all. That's why I like to call him the wizard. Let me pull up these graphics real quick. So here we go. These are the home field advantage And we have Texas State. We're listed as a big home field advantage. And that's the third tier of 6 tiers. It's in the middle, but above the middle. If you look at the way the graphic is, that's always nice to see. Big home field advantage at the top of the tiers. Good luck playing them at home, and might lose one game. Below that is it's fine, nothing special. Bad home environment, and then fans don't come to your games. So Texas State getting in there, big home field advantage. Landing below Texas State, and it's fine, nothing special. UTSA, Houston, Baylor, SMU, UTEP, Arizona State, Troy, Arkansas State. I like to see that. I threw Arizona State in there because the Bobcats are playing them in non-conference, but I try to do some Texas opponents and then some Sun Belt opponents, and it's fine, nothing special. The SMU one, just like we were saying, all that money, but they don't have the best stadium. But I imagine that'll change. Them being in the ACC, but I don't know. They took a big financial hit to go there because I don't, and I guess I didn't fully flesh out that point I was trying to make. That I don't know if that's worth it really. If Texas State were given that same opportunity, come to this P4 conference, but you're not going to make the big money for 10 years, and you're not going to. It wasn't in the American. It's about 8.3 million they paid every single team. And so they're not getting that, and they're not going to get the 40 million for 10 years. I mean, it's something they have to do. And when the ACC they brought in those 3 teams, they grew to 17 teams, so that cuts the piece of the pie of the TV deal into 17th instead of 14th like they had before. They didn't want to do that, so they didn't have to in order to get them in there. I mean, it was a point of desperation for those programs. But I just think uh, I don't know if that's worth it. So kind of backtracked and went back to the other one there. But let's go to bad home environment, some notable ones. UNT, Louisiana, or ULL, as the wizard likes to call them. Don't call them Louisiana. And then fans don't come to our game. Georgia State and ULM. Tough beat for those Sun Belt teams. It is so interesting that 1 8-5 season can dramatically change everyone's perspective on the Bobcats, though. Where if you put this list out before the 2023 season, I bet the Bobcats are bad home environment, or fans don't come to our game. They're one of those. They may have been it's fine, nothing special, but I bet they would have been one of the bottom 2, and now they're in the top 3 of those segments for college football daily. It's interesting. It's interesting. 1 8-5 season. Imagine what a true blue season. You win a conference, or you contend for it. You get those double-digit wins. It'll really change everyone's perspective. And I love that the EA Sports College Football 25 game is out, because it seems like it's creating more Tech State fans. People love being the Bobcats. That in turn, it's going to make them want to watch the Bobcats. You're gonna see an increase in people tuning in. Oh man, but it's just great. That instant type of momentum is just extremely motivating when you look at this program, where they just needed to do a little bit. Like a lot of other places, it would have taken a lot more, but there's a lot underneath festering. Festering is a bad term. Bubbling. There you go. That's a better one. There's a lot underneath bubbling, waiting to pop out. A lot of quiet Bobcats. I was just talking to a Tech State grad who just moved to San Diego, talking about they've only been there a little bit, and they've already met a few Bobcats living out in San Diego. And all I was thinking is everywhere. It's all the way in California. It's also bragging about the weather, 74 degrees. Man, that's terrific. Jealous of that. It's hot. It's hot right now. I do love the heat. It's actually been a nice, cool summer. I do appreciate that. Probably because of that hurricane, which wasn't great. Yeah, we did. That was a whole thing. Shout out to Houston. But the next one, more rat poison. This one is from the CFF. This is from Joe and Mike's top 16 overall players. I don't know why 16. That's interesting, but a top 16 from Mike and Joe. Shout out to Mike and Joe. At number 16 for Mike, Jordan McLeod. At number 8 for Joe, Jordan McLeod. I think it should be a little bit higher on Mike's, but I do appreciate that for Joe, Jordan McLeod. getting some recognition because I feel like because you see a lot of these other lists, and I probably should put some examples where Jordan McLeod did make it some anti-rat poison. But it's Jordan McLeod, what he did last season. I feel like it gets overlooked. I guess, JMU was such a successful team, but he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I've said this one on the pod before. I wanted to make sure to say this little stat again because it really, really stands out to me when thinking about McLeod. Only 4 players threw for 3,500 yards and 35 touchdowns last year. Only 4. Those 4 players, Jayden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, and Jordan McLeod. Those are 3 guys who were drafted in the top 12 last season. 1 Heisman Trophy winner, 1 almost won a national championship with the Huskies, and Michael Penix. 1 played almost a decade in Bo Nix. He played forever, but I guess Penix did too. But Jordan McLeod is in that list, which I think gets overlooked a lot with what he did at JMU. It'll be interesting to see what JMU does without Cignetti. Curt Cignetti, he left for Indiana. They have Bob Chesney now, who's a really, really good lower level coach. Was Holy Cross, I believe he was at. But it'll be interesting to see where they go after losing so many players. Because naturally, when Cignetti went to Indiana, he took a ton of players with him, turned Dukes into Hoosiers. But yeah, so shout out to Joe and Mike of the CFF. We've got 2 right here from CF Budge. I didn't put their Twitter handle. Check them out, though, on Twitter. CF Budge. Here's a 2024 Group of 5 tier list. Texas State, top contenders list. Gotta love that. Weren't a lot of teams in the top contenders list. The other teams, App State, Liberty, Boise State, Tulane, Memphis. That's a really great list for Bobcat to be around. I think that's they should look at that and think that's great company. It's about where you want to be at this time. Obviously, you want to be the top of that group, but considering where this program was not too long ago, it's pretty great that people are talking about Texas State like that. But interesting though, when you look at the top contenders, and JMU's not in that one after doing what they did last season. That's what you lose your coach, you lose your quarterback, and a lot of other players. So it is, even though they were really good, it is. I feel like the Sun Belt is a lot more in the air this year than last. Even though JMU can actually take it this year because they couldn't last year. But this is also from CF Budge. Top 10 best overall offenses, off seasons. Texas State coming in at number 10. That's all. That's not G5. That's the entire landscape. Number 9 is Georgia Tech. Number 8, Tulane. Number 7, Colorado. 6, Syracuse. 5, Ohio State. 4, UCF. UCF, shout out to Central Florida. They're doing some really, really fun things. Gus Malzahn over there. Number 3, Louisville. They're doing some fun things too. 2, Miami, and 1, Ole Miss. So there you go. CF Budge is in on the Bobcats. They're in on the Bobcats. There you go. And the last one, I saved the last one, the best one for last, just because it's not the best one, but it's just from Big Game Boomer. And if a lot of you are online too much, such as me, we all know Big Game Boomer. We all know those lists put out by Big Game Boomer. They're very, very hit or miss. You take them with a big old grain of salt with anything from Big Game Boomer. But on the top 50 college football teams list, Texas State, number 44. And you know what? Even as I put that down there and I read it, it's actually that should be higher. 44. What am I thinking? 40. This is a top 25 team we're talking about here. Come on, Big Game Boomer. No, but for a team that just got over the hump last season, I think 44 fits. I think they're going to end up better than 44. But I think that fits for now. It's just nice to get some recognition from Big Game Boomer and the infamous lists that come from that one. They're always pretty funny. But all right, that was rat poison. Rat poison for the Bobcats. There's a lot more out there. I could spend the next half hour talking more, but like I said, we're gonna make these episodes a little more digestible. And speaking of, we're doing a mailbag, a nice digestible mailbag. So get out there, get those questions. I'll put a post out on Twitter when this episode comes out, and throw your questions underneath it. Like I was saying, throw them on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube, like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll make sure we read all the questions off the YouTube comments as well as on Twitter. Webb tells me I need to get on Instagram more, but I don't foresee that. I just social media. I love being able to communicate with all of you. That's the best part, seeing what everybody's up to and everything. But man, it's nauseating these days. I don't know what it is, but social media is just it's a mess. Maybe it's an election year, and that's what it is. No politics here. This is your reprieve from politics. So we'll slide right past that and get to the outro. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/winnoworgetbent. Check out our merch site as well, wnogb.com. I got the Sicko shirt on here. We're going to be hitting you all with new merch in August. So make sure you look out for that. Lots of good stuff, lots of good deals, especially for some of y'all who have been supporting us for a long time. Can't thank y'all enough for that. Check us out on Twitter, X, whatever, at Win Now or Get Bent, on Instagram at WNOGB. After I just said all of that's nauseating, now I'm like, oh, make sure you check out our socials. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Go subscribe on the YouTube channel, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. It's the season's coming around. We need y'all to make some fake accounts for your grandma, for your third cousin twice removed, your coworker that's a UTSA grad. Just sign them up. Sign them up for our pods. Make sure they'll get all the emails once an episode drops. You can really annoy some of those road runners. But thanks to TGC, thanks to Chilsey, thanks to the Wizard, Zachary Webb, and thank you to Sickos. Season's coming up. I can't wait. Sunbelt Media Days. We're gonna have lots of good content for you coming up. Nice video content with GJ and Ishmati and Jordan McLeod. It'll be great stuff. I can't wait for it. So look out for that. Look out for lots more stuff coming. It'll probably come out in little bunches. Instead of one big fat episode, we'll probably just put out. There might be some stuff that's only audio that can only catch audio. We're gonna hammer the content for Sunbelt Media Days. So stay on the watch for that. All right, everybody. Win now or get bent.